What's going on, Port fans? Welcome back to another video on my channel, and today I'll be previewing Port Adelaide's round 4 clash against Essendon this weekend on Sunday at Etihad Stadium at 12:40 SA time. So make sure you tune in or head down to the Port Club for a special viewing, as obviously it is a delayed telecast in South Australia. About, I think it's 3-hour delay, something like that. So make sure you either have Foxtel going to the game or head down to the Port Club and support the Port Adelaide Footy Club and watch the boys take on Essendon. So let's get into this preview and have a look and see what this game's going to bring. For Port, this is a big game. I feel like this is like the Sydney game. It's a big game and it's a must win. I really feel that if we're going to prove a point again, it's proved that we can beat teams that we should beat, but also beat teams that are either higher above or... In this situation, it's tough because Essendon are out of the 8, but it's at Etihad, and it's just more about redemption for last year, especially losing by 10 plus goals. So I think that we really need to win this game for self-confidence, and especially after the week Port Adelaide have had with ThePear breaking his curfew and all of that situation that I won't dive into because I feel like it's been talked about enough. I wanted to bring up the fact that we need to look at our pace this weekend, especially at Etihad, fast deck. If the roof is closed, which should be because I think it's supposed to rain in Melbourne over the weekend. If we're going to win this game, we need pace, and I feel like that bringing in, as you would have seen in the teams last night, we don't have any recognised ruckman. We've gone once again with Dixon and Westhoff, and obviously Dougal will chip in as well. So it means we're going for more a pace, balanced side, which I think is a good thing. We're keeping Don Barry in. Carl Amon looks like he may come in as well. Joe Atley might be the likely replacement for Sam Powell-Pepper as that hard-body midfielder, but obviously has a bit of pace too, can break away from the contest. So players like those names there can really break a game like this apart, and I feel like that, you know, players like Don Barry, like Wingard, you've got players like Darcy Byrne-Jones, who's got a bit of pace coming out of the back line. Motlop, who's got extraordinary pace and knows the ground really well, is going to excel in this type of situation. So this is the sort of game that we have to utilise our strengths. The other big thing too I wanted to talk about for Port Adelaide is, speaking of pace, we need to adjust to that speed because it's a quicker paced game when it's under the roof at Etihad, and especially Essendon, who excel at that ground. They know it so well. We need to adjust quickly, get used to our surroundings, get used to the environment, because I think we struggle too much at this ground, and if we don't get off to a good enough start, we saw it last year where we just got absolutely dominated from the contest. We're never in it from the beginning, so we need to set our structures right and really start with a bang. We need to have a brilliant first quarter just to set the tone for the rest of the game, have a full-quarter performance, because Essendon, we know, after the week they've had, getting ridiculed by the media, saying, you know, they're nowhere near where they should be, and obviously the game against the Bulldogs last week was dreadful by them. So players like Joe Danaher, players like Tip and Woody, Josh Green, they're going to be there or thereabouts. Justin Heppel as well. Zach Merritt's not in good form at the moment, so these types of players are going to be looking to make a statement, and what a perfect way to come up against one of the top teams in Port Adelaide and make a huge statement by causing an upset. So Port Adelaide have to be on their toes about that one, and yeah, adjust to the pace of the game. Know when to go. That's the big thing at Etihad. Know when to go. It's just about picking the right moment and knowing and sensing when to pick it and just taking the game on. That's the main thing at Etihad. And if you can do that, you should be able to pull it off. And obviously kick straight, because there's no wind at Etihad Stadium. And I found that, you know, people aren't kicking straight even though the wind is nowhere to be seen. So kick straight at Etihad. That's probably the most important thing. After last week's effort, Port, kick straight. That's the main thing at Etihad Stadium as well. Take your opportunities, and all that is essential to this game, I feel. Which Port turns up? That's the big question here. Which Port turns up? Last week we saw the poor Port Adelaide side turn up. Even though we still got the win, it was an absolute trash of a game. With umpires not doing their best efforts. Players were off. We only had one good quarter of footy. We nearly lost to Brisbane. but we still somehow came out with a win. They're the types of wins that good clubs win. So, we get that out of the way. You come up against Essendon, you take them on, and you just do what you do best. Play your best footy, play Port Adelaide footy. Because that's the only way you're going to prove to yourselves and to the competition that you're a genuine threat. And it's these types of games away from home against a side that's very much a bogey side, but also at a ground where it's one of our worst grounds to play at. We don't have a good record at Etihad, so these are the types of games you must win, and that's what I feel. I feel like this is a must-win game. And the question I wrote down here, but doesn't need to be asked, is do we play Billy Frampton? Unfortunately, he's not even picked in the side, not even picked in the best 26 to go to Melbourne. So it's an interesting debate, and a lot of Port fans feel Billy's time. Even ex-players like Kane Corns in the media says it's time for Billy Frampton. Yeah, you could argue that it's time, but I feel like this is an awkward game to bring Billy in. You take out a small like SPP, who's unfortunately done what he's done. You bring in Billy, you're having another tool on a ground where it's very quick, very fast paced. So do you go with the recognised ruckman and go back to our normal structure, or do you go with the shorter team, have Dixon and Hoff and Dougal go in the ruck? They don't have the tallest forward line, Essendon. They'll have Dougal on hooker. They'll have Danaher, Cleary, with Jonas roaming about as well. So do we have that balance? I think we do, and it worked best against Sydney when it was a dewy game, and we utilised our smalls. Wingard, Motlop. Robbie Gray was good in that game as well. Ollie Wines was superb. So having these smalls dictate the game is probably an advantage as such, because we know how well Essendon go with their smalls on a fast-paced deck. And I know I keep mentioning pace, but that's this game. This game will be an explosive event that will really, I think both teams might even score over 100 points. It's happened before a couple of years ago in 2015, which is the last time we won at Etihad Stadium against Essendon. It was 129 to 116. Paddy Ryder started in that game too, so it will be interesting to see how well we go, but the start's most important, I feel. Alright, the key matchups for this game is going to be a very interesting game. So, obviously, the ruck contest. Whoever rucks against Belchambers is crucial. Dixon has to do the majority of the ruck. We saw Hoff struggle last week against a recognised ruckman in Martin. Didn't do as bad against Sinclair the week before, but he needs to probably take a step back and let Dixon do more of the ruck, even though he's got his ankle problems. But we need to risk it, otherwise this game might get out of hand early. Midfield v midfield, it's going to be a very tough game in the middle of the ground with players like Ollie Wines. You've got Jared Pollock out on the wing. No SPP. Probably Rockcliffe might go in the middle a bit more too. Boak might go in there. Robbie Gray will be in there as well. It's going to be an interesting contest in the middle with Heppel, Merritt. Players like that in Essendon's midfield that are really taking the game on. Zaharakis is a perfect example, who looks like he's finding a bit of form too, which is good to see from his behalf on the Essendon front. The other thing that I wanted to mention as well from a matchup point of view is Dixon v Hurley. Now, if Dixon is doing more of the ruck work, Hurley's going to go to either Marshall or Watts, and you'd probably say Watts because Marshall will probably play a deeper role at Etihad. So it'll be interesting to see how exactly that defensive structure from the Essendon point of view works if you've got players like Dixon and Westhoff doing the ruck work. And then the other big one I wanted to mention is Dougal Howard versus Carl Hooker. Carl Hooker destroyed us last year, and we need to have a good matchup on him. And Howard did the job against Buddy Franklin, did the job last week too on Hipwood until Cleary went on to him, I'm pretty sure. So it's a big role for Howard once again, but he needs to nullify Hooker or maybe play on Danaher too. So three goals, 3 games for Danaher as well. So look out for him to have a bigger impact than it seems. I know I've rambled on a bit, but now it's time for the predictions for Port Adelaide versus Essendon. I still feel that we have a good enough team to take on Essendon, and I think we'll win by about 3 goals, 17 points I've put in my book here. I think players like Pollock, players like Motlop will star in this game. It's a quick-paced game. He's going to get a lot of possession through the middle, a lot of carrying football, defence to attack, good transition football. Port Adelaide need to play as well, and that will nullify Essendon and probably give us the win. But it'll be a good contest at Etihad nonetheless. Well, there you have it, Port fans. That wraps up this preview for Port Adelaide versus Essendon at Etihad Stadium for round 4. It's going to be an exciting game. Hopefully Port Adelaide get the job done and go 4-zip. Stay at the top of the ladder. I think they might do Essendon look a little bit less potent this year with their performance against the Bulldogs last week. But it's still very early in the season to judge, so hopefully they bring their worst and Port bring their best, and it's a good win for the Power. I know you agree, Port fans. Let me know what you think the game will end up being like in the comments below. What's your predictions for this week? And give me a player that's going to star too. I feel like some of the players who've tried to find their feet a bit, players like Rockcliffe, Watts as well, looks a bit quiet at the moment, but we'll see. See what happens. Sunday, 12:40 PM at Etihad Stadium. It'll be on Fox Footy, or head down to the Port Club, as I said at the beginning of the video. Tune into the Porches podcast on 8 PM every Wednesday night, and on Port Fan Radio Network too. You'll find my channel, ThePear, on Spreaker, so listen to all these previews and reviews. If you don't want to see me, listen to me. Thank you very much for tuning in, Port fans. My name is Anthony, and obviously, can the pair.